What are some of those videos that are genuinely disturbing? Do they have some kind of dark story behind them? Or are they simply videos that should never have ended up on YouTube in the first place? Well, today we're going to take a look at a few of them and try to figure out exactly what we're dealing with. On July 26th, 2024, a video was uploaded to YouTube with the title Don't Fall Asleep Morena. And at first, this video doesn't really seem like anything special. We have these two cartoonish looking ducks, and honestly, everything about the thumbnail looks pretty harmless. But if you look closely at one of the corners, you'll notice there's a small video playing inside the main video. And it's so easy to miss that you could probably watch the whole thing without even noticing it. So let's take a closer look. The clip is in black and white, and well, it's not exactly what you'd expect from a video with cartoon ducks on the screen. We see a group of men standing somewhere in the middle of a forest. One of the men is sitting on the ground with his hands tied behind him, and from the way he's behaving, it's pretty clear that he's terrified. Then, one of the men who had been standing nearby steps away, giving the other person enough room to begin what they had apparently come there to do. And this is where the video becomes extremely disturbing. The man takes out a machete, receives the instruction to begin, and then proceeds to brutally attack the man who is tied up. The footage is extremely difficult to watch and contains graphic violence. And according to the information surrounding the video, this wasn't a scene from a movie or some kind of staged production. It was presented as an authentic recording. But here's where things get even more interesting. Because even though this particular video was uploaded to YouTube in 2024, the footage itself is much older. Apparently, it had already been circulating around the internet since 2018, where it became known as Ya te estás durmiendo, Morena. And, as you might expect, the story behind it is pretty dark. The footage has been associated with an organized crime group in Mexico. However, there isn't enough information available to determine exactly who the victim was or who the people responsible were. And that's pretty much how the video spread across the internet. It kept getting reposted and shared, while the original source and the circumstances surrounding the recording remained largely unknown. So, even years after the footage first began circulating, we're left with a disturbing video, a name that keeps appearing alongside it, and very little information about what actually happened before that camera started recording. At the time, this was a video that shocked a lot of people, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. Hearing the man's screams and watching him slowly lose his strength makes the whole thing feel incredibly brutal. There's something especially disturbing about watching someone gradually realize that they're not going to make it out of that situation. And actually, that's where the name Ya te estás durmiendo, Morena comes from. The phrase is believed to be a reference to the fact that the man was already reaching his final moments. But here's the problem. There was never an official version of what happened. There wasn't a public investigation, no case file that could actually be used to reconstruct the story, and, at least publicly, there wasn't enough information to determine exactly who this person was or why this happened. So, naturally, theories started appearing. One theory claimed that the victim was referred to as Morena by the perpetrators, and that he was a soldier who had somehow betrayed the organization. Another theory suggested that he was actually an infiltrator who had been gathering information and passing details to a rival group. But of course, there's no way to confirm these theories based on the information that is publicly available. Whatever the real story was, the footage itself is extremely difficult to watch, and because of that, people have repeatedly tried to prevent the video from being circulated, at least on conventional platforms. And over time, something interesting happened. The video basically turned into a kind of internet myth. A lot of people knew about it. A lot of people remembered the name. But actually, sharing the original footage became increasingly difficult. It was almost like talking about something that you weren't supposed to see. And then, around 2023 and 2024, a new type of trend started becoming popular online. You may have seen these before. They're usually referred to as void memes. Basically, they're simple animations or edited videos that recreate extremely disturbing events without showing the original footage itself. And this created a strange way of talking about these infamous videos. You could recreate what supposedly happened, show people what the video was about, and still avoid having the actual graphic material removed from the platform. And No Te Duermas Morena became one of those cases. What's especially strange though is that the original footage was apparently hidden inside a completely ordinary looking video. You have these cartoon ducks. The title doesn't immediately tell you what's going on, and the disturbing footage is tucked away in a tiny corner. So literally, someone could come across this video completely by accident, click on it thinking it's going to be something harmless, and have absolutely no idea what they're about to see. And the strange part is, neither the video nor the channel that uploaded it is even trying to hide what it's doing. The channel is literally called Videos Gore. Yeah, not exactly subtle. And as of today, there is only one video on the account. We don't really know if there used to be more that were eventually taken down by YouTube, or if this channel has always had just this one video. Either way, what's strange is that 2 years have passed since the video was uploaded, and somehow it's still sitting there, completely unnoticed by moderation, and anyone who happens to find it can still watch it.
Everett, I know that by the time you see this you will hate me, but I need your help. In the envelope you will find all of my material. I need you to use this material to get the message out. People are going to ask why, and they need to know. And I need you to tell them. Please help me. We have to wait them.
Now, this is one of 9 videos uploaded to a channel that, at first glance, is incredibly easy to overlook on YouTube. And the first time I came across one of these videos, I honestly had no idea what I was looking at, because all 9 videos follow pretty much the same pattern. There's a man sitting in a bathtub, talking about things from his past, problems he's dealing with in the present, and all kinds of thoughts that seem to be weighing heavily on him. And there's something about the way he talks that makes the whole thing feel off. These aren't long videos either. They're relatively short, and there's one detail that tells us something interesting. The man's clothes change from video to video. So, even though all 9 videos were uploaded between September 27th and 28th, 2011, they clearly weren't recorded on the same day. But let's actually look at what this guy is saying. The man is called James Christensen, and based on what he tells us, he seems to be someone who's getting increasingly frustrated with the world around him. He talks about how people today don't really know what is real anymore, and how we often go through our daily lives without even thinking about what we're doing. And when you think about it, he does make an interesting point. A lot of our daily routines become so repetitive that we eventually start doing them automatically. We wake up, go to work, accomplish whatever we're supposed to accomplish, make money, buy things, and repeat the same process the next day. According to James, people have become so focused on goals, productivity, and constantly doing more that we've stopped thinking of ourselves as actual people. Instead, we've become numbers, phone numbers, bank account numbers, apartment numbers, how much money we have, our performance percentages, profit margins, and all these other numbers that somehow end up defining our lives. James spends a lot of time criticizing this way of living, and instead, he argues that we should actually stop for a moment and become aware of the fact that we're real people. We shouldn't just do things because that's what we're expected to do. We should question things. We should actually think about why we're doing them. And at this point, you could probably come to a pretty simple conclusion. Maybe that's the entire purpose of these videos. Maybe James simply wanted people to stop for a moment, think about their existence, and become a little more conscious of the lives they're actually living. And honestly, that explanation would make perfect sense. Except there are a few details that don't really add up. Because normally, when someone is giving a speech or trying to communicate a strong message, there's going to be some degree of performance involved. You emphasize certain words, you change your tone, you act emotional when the subject calls for it. It's part of getting the message across. But James doesn't really come across as someone who's simply acting. He sounds like someone who's genuinely on the verge of breaking down. And the more you listen to him, the more it starts to feel like he's preparing to do something that goes far beyond simply making a few videos and giving the world a message. So here's where things get even stranger. These videos were apparently uploaded by some random user on the internet, and they basically serve as an archive of the very little information we have about this person. All 9 videos share the exact same description. It claims that in August, a 32-year-old man named James Christensen killed 16 people inside an apartment complex in South Austin, Texas. According to the description, James worked as a leasing agent at Hollow West Apartments, which supposedly gave him access to spare keys. He allegedly used those keys to enter the victims' apartments and kill them. And then there's another detail. The description claims that these videos originally belonged to a relative of one of the victims and were eventually handed over to the police. But apparently, not before copies were made. If all of this is true, then James wasn't simply someone making strange videos about his frustrations with society. He was a murderer, and these videos would essentially be a record of what was going on inside his head before everything happened. That's a pretty massive twist. And the first thing I thought was, well, something like this should have received at least some kind of media coverage, right? 16 people being killed in an apartment complex is not exactly the kind of event that would go unnoticed. So I started looking, and I looked for James Christensen. I looked for the apartment complex. I looked for the supposed incident. I looked for pretty much anything that could connect this story to a real event. And I couldn't find anything, nothing. Not even the name James Christensen seemed to be connected to a case like this. And that makes the whole thing much more confusing, because if the story is real, where is the evidence? And if it's fake, then what exactly are these videos? At this point, there are a few possibilities. Maybe the entire thing was fictional, and these videos were actually part of some kind of project that was being developed. Maybe the project didn't get enough attention and was eventually abandoned. Or perhaps the videos themselves are real, but the description completely changed the context surrounding them. We simply don't know. Even today, there's very little information about the channel, and only a small number of people have actually tried to investigate the case. But regardless of what the truth is, there's something about these videos that's difficult to ignore. When you sit there and watch James talk, it almost feels like you're watching the mental decline of a person in real time. And that's probably what makes the whole thing so unsettling, because we're not just watching someone say strange things. We're watching someone who, at least according to the story surrounding these videos, may have been heading towards something much darker. But yeah, let's see what other disturbing things we can find. Asuba Bagwana is one of the oldest mysteries connected to the darker side of YouTube. And all you really have to do is search for the name. Once you do, the algorithm starts giving you a collection of incredibly disturbing videos, some of which are genuinely difficult to watch. One of them, for example, shows a couple trying to cross a railway track before a train arrives. They start moving quickly, but then they realize the train is much closer than they expected, and suddenly they just freeze. They don't know what to do. And, well, you can probably guess what happens next. Pretty much everything associated with Asuba Bagwana follows this same pattern. A lot of the videos involve graphic accidents, shootings, or ordinary situations that somehow ended in something extremely disturbing. And because many of these videos are age-restricted, I obviously can't go into every single one of them. It's an interesting rabbit hole to explore, but at the same time, it's probably one of the most uncomfortable ones you'll come across. So we're not going to get into the really graphic material here. YouTube probably wouldn't appreciate that anyway, but there is one part that's still worth looking at. So if you're eating right now, or you're particularly sensitive to violent content, you might want to skip this section. There's a channel called 3GP Low Quality Video, and it has uploaded a collection of extremely disturbing recordings. But there's something interesting about the way these videos are presented. They're in such incredibly low resolution that apparently this can make it harder for automated moderation systems to identify exactly what's happening. And that's how some of this material can remain online with surprisingly little attention. One of the videos associated with the channel is a short fragment commonly known as Quiero Agua. I'm not going to show the footage because even though it's extremely low quality, it's still difficult to watch. For anyone who doesn't know the story behind it, the recording is reportedly connected to an organized crime group in Mexico. The footage shows a man who appears to have been severely tortured. His physical condition is extremely disturbing, and the phrase Quiero Agua, meaning I want water, is repeatedly associated with the recording. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that one, because Yeah, you don't really need to see it to understand why people remember it. And this isn't the only disturbing material on the channel. There are other videos involving severe injuries, disturbing imagery, and scenes that are equally difficult to watch. So even with the terrible resolution, this is still a channel that can be incredibly uncomfortable to go through. But here's the strange part. Not everything on the channel is disturbing. You'll also find memes, low-resolution comedy videos, and completely random pieces of internet content. The channel even uses a picture of Farid Diak as its profile image, which gives you at least some idea of the kind of humor behind the account. So, in a way, Asuba Baguana is basically a giant rabbit hole, a collection of obscure, disturbing, and sometimes completely random pieces of internet content, all gathered in one place.